China has a new visa policy for US citizens that makes them eligible to visit China, that is, certain cities in China, like Shanghai and Beijing, for up to 10 days without having to acquire or pay for a visa. According to Google Gemini, it states as of December 17th, 2024, eligible foreign travelers can stay in China for up to 10 days or 240 hours without a visa. This policy change applies to citizens of 54 countries, including the United States. How does a new policy work? The new policy allows eligible travelers to enter and exit China at 60 ports across 24 provinces. Travelers can use the visa-free transit policy for tourism, business, family visits, and other activities. When they say ports, I'm going to assume airports. It continues. Travelers cannot use the visa-free transit policy for work, study, or journalism. Travelers must have valid international travel documents and onward travel tickets and seat reservations. What are the eligible countries? It says the policy applies to citizens of 54 countries, including the United States, Russia, Brazil, the UK, and Canada. What's the purpose of the new policy? The policy was updated to promote international travel and academic and other exchanges between China and other countries. A visa from the US to China typically costs around $140 for a single entry, regardless of whether it's a tourist or a business visa, according to information from the Chinese embassy in the US. Key points about the China visa cost for US citizens: single entry, $140, multiple entries for a specific period, the fee remains the same, $140. Important to check, always verify the current fee with the Chinese embassy or consulate nearest US. Prices can occasionally change. Now, I know they also have a 10-year visa available. It may appear that they're doing a promotion on the 10-year visa because a 10-year visa also costs $140. Now, you can hire services out there that'll do it for you. And depending on what state you live in, you'll have to go to a different Chinese consulate. For example, if you live in, I believe in California, you can go to the Los Angeles consulate. If you live outside, if you live in Nevada, for example, you'll have to go to the San Francisco Chinese consulate. So depending on what state you live in, you have to determine which Chinese consulate to apply for your visa. This 10-day visa-free policy is sounds convenient, but the question is exactly how does this work? For example, in scenario one, if you flew from, for example, the Los Angeles airport or LAX to Incheon in Korea, and then from Incheon you transited to Shanghai, and then you stayed in Shanghai for up to 10 days, and then you flew back to Incheon and transited back to LAX, would that qualify? Since you did fly back to Incheon, but it was a transit. Probably not, but it's not clear whether or not this does qualify. So it's a question mark, but I would say probably not. In scenario two, if you flew from LAX in Los Angeles to Incheon in Korea, transited to Shanghai, stayed there for up to 10 days, and then you flew back to Incheon, Korea, and stayed in Incheon for, let's say, for example, 3 days or 10 days or 30 days, and then you flew back to LAX, would that qualify for the 10-day visa? It sounds like it would, but then I've heard from some sources that it would not because you're flying back to a city or an airport that you just flew from to Shanghai. So their argument is that you must fly to an airport that's different from the airport that you just flew in from, which I can understand, but doesn't, but technically is should qualify because I've only, let's say you only transited through Incheon in Korea and then flew to Shanghai and you stayed up to 10 days and then you flew back to Incheon and then you vacationed there for a number of days. The airport or the city of origin should be Los Angeles, not Incheon, even though you transited through Incheon. But some argue that because you transited through Incheon, it no longer qualifies, and then you must then go to a third city. Now, I give this a 70% chance that it's probably true. But again, it's a gray area and nobody really seems to know. Now, another scenario, which I believe is will probably work, is let's say you fly from LAX, Los Angeles, you fly to Incheon, Korea, you transit to Shanghai, and you stay there for up to 10 days. And let's say you transit back to Incheon in Korea, and then from there you transit to, let's say, Tokyo, Japan, and you stay there for 3 days or 10 days or up to 30 days, whatever you like. And then you fly back to Los Angeles or LAX. Now, this is a third country. Japan is your third country. Tokyo is your third port, but then you landed through Incheon first before going to Tokyo. That is, you transited through Incheon before going to Tokyo. So does that qualify? You would think it would, but again, some would argue that it doesn't because you went through Incheon first. They would argue that you need to go directly to Tokyo from Shanghai, which technically yes, but in spirit, you should be able to go through Incheon because you're just transiting and then fly from Incheon to Tokyo, which is your final third destination. Now, the destination, the fourth scenario, which I know for sure would work, is LAX to Incheon, transit to Shanghai, stay up to 10 days, and then from Shanghai, fly direct to Tokyo. And then this will be your third destination. And then from Tokyo, then you can fly wherever you like, eventually back to your hometown. So this will qualify for sure. But the question is, with the other scenarios that I mentioned, would those qualify? Because some of them sound like they should, although depending on the immigration officer, it may not. Now, I have reached out to certain travel agencies and travel agents, and they seem to be unsure, except for the last scenario of flying directly to a third city. The other scenarios, they are not sure about. I've also reached out to the consulate offices via email, the Chinese consulate in Los Angeles and San Francisco, and also in Washington, D.C. And I think the Washington, D.C. office, I'm getting an email bounce back, and some I have not heard back from yet. So these other scenarios are unclear, and I can't find anything else online that explains or confirms these other flight itineraries. So we'll have to wait and see. And if I hear anything else, I will try to update this. Thank you.